How you doing? This is Daniel Tompkins, and you're back into the thick of it. This is podcast number 7 on my podcast series under the Singer's Lifestyle. Today we're going to talk about sleep and the effects of sleep on singing and how it can benefit you. But before we get into it, head over to my website when you get a chance. It's www.daniel-tompkins.com. Make sure you subscribe there, get your email down on the mailing list so you can get regular updates on what's happening with the new site. And things are really hotting up now. It's getting exciting, so I really want you to be a part of it. Please spread the word for me as well. Share it around. And also, if you get a chance, subscribe to this podcast before you forget. And also, right at the end, if you'd be so kind as to leave me a review of some kind, that would be much appreciated. If you've been listening right from the beginning of this podcast series, you should now be starting to build a clear picture of what you need to be thinking about in order to develop a good, strong, healthy voice. You know, it's very important that we get into the singer's lifestyle. So I just want to encourage you to really dive into this with arms wide open. You know, keep taking in what I'm saying, get healthy, start to consider what you're eating and your eating habits. And now you have a better understanding of the things that can go wrong with the voice if you neglect these things. I think alarm bells should start ringing in your own lifestyles to some degree. So let's take a look at sleep. It's widely recommended that we get at least 7 to 8 hours sleep per day. And yes, granted, that is easier said than done. We all live and work with busy lifestyles, and some of us have really demanding working hours, and it's not always that easy to get into a regular 8-hour sleeping pattern. I understand that completely. Having had a child in the last couple of years, my world was kind of turned upside down, for the better, for the most part, but having kids can really turn your life upside down and can really wreck your sleeping patterns, especially for the first, 12 months when you're getting up every hour in the night to feed a crying baby. So I completely empathise with people that struggle to get into this routine. But there are a lot of benefits for the singer's voice when you do get a good night's rest. I think what you should do is be honest and ask yourself the question, do you remember the last time you woke up feeling refreshed and energised? If your answer is yes, then you are doing something right, because that is exactly how you should feel when you wake up first thing in the morning. Singers absolutely need some meaningful sleep, especially when on tour as well. This can make a huge difference to your singing voice. You have to remember that when you sing, your vocal cords are working at a far greater level of intensity than by simply having a casual conversation with somebody. When we sing, our cords vibrate at a really high rate, anywhere up to 1,000 times a second. And the more we sing, the more muscle tissue can break down in the throat and the voice. And that's important to consider because our bodies need to recharge and repair through rest and sleep. And the same mechanism applies to the voice and the tissues in the throat and the voice that break down. They rebuild throughout the night when we're asleep and we're resting. So if you're sleep deprived, your body is going to lack the energy and focus needed for singing and breathing techniques, and this can really jeopardize everything about your performance. Another thing to consider is that when you train your singing voice, this is going to encourage new muscle fibers to grow and adapt to the way that you are coordinating them and shaping them. So when we sleep, these changes become integrated into the body. Thus, sleep is important muscular fibre development time. I remember that there was a very difficult transitional period for me when I was in my previous career as a police officer. When I was trying to train my voice, just before I was due to leave and resign, I was having sleepless nights a lot because, as you can imagine, working this kind of a demanding job can create a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress, and that's what it did for me. So when I was getting home at night, I was constantly thinking of things that I'd done wrong or could have done better, and there was always some level of worry in the back of my mind. So I do appreciate and I do understand how stress can really have a very negative effect on sleep, and it can sometimes leave you having sleepless nights altogether. I remember it taking me hours to calm myself down and clear my head of thoughts before I could get to sleep, because my mind was so busy whirring around with many different thoughts. But on the flip side, when I did manage to resign, I have to say that it suddenly felt like I'd had this massive weight taken from my shoulders, and that really reflected in my lifestyle and in my singing voice. I was able to sleep, I felt free and relaxed, I was able to enjoy myself a lot more, and that had a really positive effect on my voice. So, on that side of things, I can also see that there was a huge, huge benefit there. If you're a singer in a band or a project, you as the singer must be the most concerned out of anyone about getting enough sleep. The older you get, the more important this becomes, I have noticed. If you have too little sleep and continuously sing day after day after day, i.e., on tour, then you really do increase the risk of straining and injuring your voice. As we discussed in the previous podcast about vocal disorders, you should understand now how important it is to stay healthy and rested, because we do not want to be getting any of these vocal disorders. We should always be looking to give our voice the utmost care possible. Now, as much as we have to rest, we also need to make sure that we're resting at the right times. So from the point of waking up, it can take the body around 1 to 2 hours to become fully alert and responsive. So we shouldn't really be singing within that kind of time. Make sure that if you take power naps in the daytime or the evening, that you have at least 2 to 3 hours before warming the voice up and performing. As much as singing is a physical activity, it's also about having a strong brain to vocal cord connection. Once you've warmed the voice up, you are connected. And then if you fall asleep, you're going to lose this connection and have to start from fresh. So I hope this podcast has been insightful and helpful for you. Please do leave me a review on the podcast and also subscribe if you would be so kind. And head over to the vocal coaching website, which is www.daniel-tompkins.com. Make sure you subscribe there as well, get your email on the mailing list, and get hold of the free ebook that I put together on the 7 biggest mistakes that singers make. Definitely check out the website if you're interested in developing your voice and vocal control. We have lots of different subscription levels, so you can have a weekly, a monthly, a yearly, or an unlimited access to the website, where we have hundreds of downloadable voice exercises and video lessons and a whole lot more. So please do check it out. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye.